we are going through a resizing process. And along with that, we are going with a tuning, that's reorganization. So with your experiences, and the volatile market conditions, how soon do you see the equilibrium coming back where people feel that they are more stable than they are right now?
That's a great question, Varun, to ask. I mean, it's a great question. We're going to go through a process, and for the overhead part of the business, the salaried part of the business, we'll go through it probably in the next couple of months. It's more difficult then when you get down to the factory rationalization, because the same thing has to go along in the manufacturing. You know, if you don't have output, you don't have jobs effectively, and right now we don't have output. And that'll take longer. That'll probably go through the third quarter, maybe into the fourth quarter. Now, what we've attempted to do is to forecast what the demand's going to be then by the end of the year and size the company to that size, and then we'll start to grow again as the demand comes up. That's the thought process. Yeah. The economists of the world have proven very well that nobody can forecast what's going to happen, and so we deal with that. But we've taken it down, and we've taken it down hard, so that we can, in an attempt to go through it once, and then begin to grow again.
If GM or Chrysler, go into bankruptcy or liquidation, we could see further announcements of headcount reductions.
Our employment is driven by our revenue, and therefore by profitability. If in fact there were announcements from them that caused us to lose a significant piece of revenue, yeah, the company's got to shrink, because the company can only exist to serve its customers. That's what you're in business for. Is it going to change the number of automobiles being made in the United States? And if it does, who's selling the products into them? It could be beneficial if it happened to shift demand into products that Timken makes and has bigger penetration into. Now, as we've put the forecast together and as we've done the organizational work, we've attempted to make a probabilistic view of what's the demand in business, and then build an organization to suit it. I mean, that's what you have to do in business. So we've made an assessment of what's going to happen to the oil industry in Houston, and when is it going to turn back up? When's Caterpillar going to start making trucks again, make big mining trucks again? When is the heavy truck market in the United States going to come back? When is the rail industry going to come back? How is the stimulus package in China going to affect demand? So we've made a forecast for that through the year. We've made our best guess. We're building the organization around it. There's just a whole bunch of things that could happen that affect that either way. You have to build a competitive organization and believe in yourself, and then go out and sell the products, and that's what creates jobs, and that's what maintains jobs.
Faircrest has been told we're going to work a week next month. How long do you think the company can sustain that type of schedule?
I was in a plant down in Georgia, Dahlonega, Georgia, in January, and they were kind of 4 months into. The plant ran every week, but it had a different half of the people in it every week. So they were going 1 week on, 1 week off to try to maintain the workforce. At some point, you have to adjust the workforce to give people that kind of stability. And obviously, we believe there will be a rebound in demand, or we would do something structural from that point of view. You can't run Faircrest forever, a week a month, but the company, the Timken company, as opposed to the steel business, has the resources to carry it for some period of time while we go through that process. You and I both hope we get back to running a lot more than 1 week a month.
How government spending in the stimulus regime, how that would affect Timken directly or indirectly?
Depends on which government that you're talking about. Interestingly, I'm most interested in the, less interested in the Obama stimulus package than I am in the Hu Jintao stimulus package, because we are already seeing the impacts of the stimulus package in China. We're starting to see demand for industrial products come as they start to build roads, and the car market has started to come up. But they did it a little differently than the U.S. government. They put it directly into the banks and then directly into demand for infrastructure, which then drives demand for companies like us. In the U.S., I think it'll be the third quarter or the fourth quarter before we see it. And it will be a much more muted impact. because the U.S. spread it in a lot of different ways. They put it into healthcare. They put it into education, solving a lot of the social issues that are real issues, but don't feed quickly into the economy for manufactured goods.
For the folks that will be left, what are the other things that the company's looking at to possibly do cost reductions?
We have worked very hard over the last 20 years to build a compensation structure that varies with the level of profitability in the company. Those of you who are salaried participate in something called an APA program, a variable pay program. And what you probably didn't read in the announcement, because it was kind of in code, is right now, we're forecasting zero earnings for 2008. And that means there won't be an APA if we end up at zero earnings. If we earn something, there's a shot at it. But right now, the forecast is zero, and therefore the forecast of the bonus plan for all of us is that there won't be any.
How well are we differentiated with respect to our competition right now? And what are the criteria that we use to value most in this differentiation process?
The straight answer is not enough. And for the last 10 years, we've focused very hard on differentiation. And it's easier to see on the bearing side of the house because we've divided the divisions that way. And if you start to look at the profitability of the Process Industries Group, which is heavily aftermarket oriented, where we are very differentiated, or aerospace, where we've started to become differentiated with a service model, you can see how it's paying off. What you don't see in steel or in mobile is we have similar differentiation in those businesses, but it's overwhelmed by the portion of the business that is, who can make it or is willing to sell it for the lowest cost and when we don't have enough volume. Much of what you see here in Canton, in the steel side, the investments, for example, in all of the thermal treatment, are designed exactly around how do we differentiate. The ability to make ultra-large bars is a differentiation. Nobody else can do that, and it creates a capability that customers value. The ability in the bearing business to refurbish railroad bearings. It's a unique ability in North America, or almost unique. It differentiates us and locks us into customers. The more we can do that, the more profitable we'll be.
Are we looking at this economic environment as an opportunity to make some acquisition?
Three focuses in the economic downturn. One is to continue the transformation, and that's part of it. Looking at acquisitions, looking for better talent, taking advantage of the fact that there's weakness in the market to get what we need to be the new Timken company. The second was to right size, and that's what we spent most of the time talking about now, because on a personal basis, that's the piece that's crucial. And then the final one is to protect the balance sheet, protect our ability to make payroll, to be able to invest, and that's what the dividend cut was. So when you think about what's going on, you put them into those three packages. One is drive the transformation. Obviously, we'll look at acquisitions in this time, and we think they might be better valued. Second is get the company to the right size so that people can start looking up at the future instead of looking over their shoulder, and then protect the balance sheet. Make sure that we get the inventory out, turn it into cash, so we've got enough to pay the bills in the down cycle.